presenting a project or a concept map, but I'm going to be talking a little bit more thoroughly than this map presents. So today I'm going to be talking about type 1 diabetes mellitus, and we're going to be developing kind of some further understanding of the chronic disease itself, and enveloping in its conditions, its causes, and its effects. So we'll start with the pathophysiology and the disease and its sort of mechanisms, as you could say. So type 1 diabetes, it is the lack of excretion of isolates, which produce insulin and break down glucose for ATP production in the mitochondria of the cell. Basically, this all happens in the pancreas, and that's kind of what is going on with the disease itself. It's a through many different causes and impacts, it changes how the disease kind of works, but today we're going to be talking about the broad aspects of diabetes type 1. My hair's a little crazy. So we're going to be talking first about the population impact and some sort of statistics on the type of diabetes, type 1, by the way. So actually did some research, and the most likely population to get type 1 diabetes is children and teenagers and young adults, but it can present itself later in life as well. Most people, as I have right here, with a HPA-DR3 gene or a HLA-DR4 gene are usually presented later in life with type 1 diabetes. So if you have it, it's very likely that you have type 1 diabetes. So actually, this was really interesting. Population were much more likely to have it that were actually further from the equator, with either their environment or the UV light, and having a relative, obviously with stage 1 or type 1 diabetes is a very common prerequisite to actually have it yourself. So I also researched who was most likely out of any background to develop the disease, and it was actually Northern European populations that were most likely, and I think East Asian populations were the least likely. So some risk factors and causes of the disease is that some viruses and bacteria can cause immune cells to destroy the insulin producing cells, and also just genetic mutations in general can also cause this immune dysfunction. Clinical manifestations, signs and symptoms of diabetes, so kind of the before that you actually get diagnosed, and yeah, so signs, and during diagnosis or during dealing with the condition. So patients usually feel an increased amount of thirst and urination, and this is actually because the kidneys filter more glucose in blood because they're not being filtered inside of the cells and used for ATP production. So mood changes and attire and weakness also presents itself very commonly. And this is also because of the lack of ATP, because no or very little glucose is being broken down in the cells themselves because of the lack of insulin that break them down before it gets to the cell, right? So also very fast weight loss is a very common cause. very common symptom rather of diabetes in general. I don't know why I said it so fast, but diabetes in general. And this is because you're not getting enough energy to go through your day, so it actually metabolizes your fat cells and your muscle cells for energy instead of glucose, or the raw molecule of glucose. Clinical manifestations and signs and symptoms. We have one more. It is the blurred vision, and this one was actually super interesting to me because it's caused, and I researched this very recently, and it really caught my attention. So it had a separate slide in my slideshow. Is a overconcentration of unbroken full glucose molecules that are in the cardiovascular system, and they actually reach the eye ducts, or the tear ducts rather, and go into the eyes. And because of osmosis, they first start soaking up water, the glucose molecules, and then because of osmosis, all the water starts to go from a low concentration gradient to a high concentration gradient, and you now have altered lenses in your eyes, and swelling in your eyes as well, which changes the curvature of the lens itself, and this changes how light is focused on the retina of the eye, and changes the overall focus of the eye itself. So prognoses and long-term outcomes. So actually, if you live a healthy life with healthy habits, exercise, and a balanced meal, and you take your medication regularly and the proper medication, it's very beneficial. It severely dampens the impact of the disease itself. And on the opposing side of that, if you live an unhealthy lifestyle, it can be very damaging to your entire body, right? So it could actually cause liver failure, vision loss, cardiovascular disease, nerve damage, seizures, diabetic comas, organ failure, and severe infection. So really not good stuff. So some lifestyle management strategies that are super important is, again, eating a balanced, fibrous diet. Avoiding smoking is huge for cardiovascular health in general, but also if you have type 1 diabetes, for sure, or any condition. Maintaining healthy weight and monitoring blood sugar levels is super, super important. So some pharmaceutical treatments include insulin pens, syringes, and pumps. This basically just pumps insulin into your body. And then we have this medication called pramlintide. Might be saying it wrong. But basically this is a synthetic form of the hormone amyline. And basically this improves blood sugar levels as well. Most commonly after meals it's taken, so it basically makes you less full. It lowers glucagon, which increases your blood pressure. Your blood sugar, and it promotes it slows gastric emptying. So another pharmaceutical treatment is the SGLT inhibitor, and this stands for sodium glucose transporter type 2 inhibitor, and basically this just lowers blood sugar levels as well. Some cool science behind it. It actually does that by reducing the renal plasma glucose threshold and inducing glycosuria, which is some cool stuff. And then another one is metformin, also lowers blood glucose level, and basically it reduces glucose output in the liver. It also also decreases intestinal absorption, so slows down how much sugar your body actually absorbs from the food and drinks that you consume. And finally, well, not finally, but another thing that it does is improves insulin sensitivity and actually helps muscle and fat cells responding, and makes them respond better to insulin, allowing them to pull more sugar from the bloodstream and use it for energy inside the cells. And that's it. Thank you so much.